Hello everybody, Void Matthew here. Welcome to the long overdue part of What If Every Nation Went to War 30 years later. Now, just so you know, if I get, confused about stuff on this map, it's because I made this literally a week ago, and I haven't touched it since because my voice was dead and I had a bunch of stuff going on, so I've just straight up not touched this map at all since, I think December 13th. But, yeah, without further ado, let's get into this. So yeah, starting with North America, I don't even know why we cover this continent anymore. It hasn't changed, because, why would it change? But I guess we gotta cover it because, it's a continent. And, yeah, there's not much really to say about this continent, but America is still dominating it. So, there's that. South America is more interesting, though. Firstly, Argentina is gone. Were they? No, they weren't gone in the last one. If they weren't gone in the last one, they're gone now. Brazil is completely encircled by the U.S. and is just fighting for their lives. And, yeah, the U.S. is only a few cities away. They just need to take, Rio, Sao Paulo, maybe Brasilia, and Buenos Aires, and then the South American continent is pretty much theirs. So, yeah, probably not 35, but maybe 40 will be when Brazil falls and America finally gets control over all of the Americas. Did I say Brazil? If I said Brazil, I meant the US. But yeah. So, yeah, that is the not Western world. I keep saying that. The Americas. Why did that take me so long? That is the Americas. And yeah, moving on. Europe. America is really starting to go at it with France. Because, simply put, France is was getting a bit too powerful. So America decided they would be their next target after completely destroying Britain. So yeah, they've landed in Brittany and Normandy. Maybe not Normandy, but that area. And they've also landed in Denmark. So, France is not actually doing as swimmingly as they would probably like to. They took a bit of land from Poland, but they even lost a tiny bit to the Ottomans. And overall, they are now being forced on the defensive. They did take a bit in Africa too, but yeah, they're on the defensive against the US. Poland is starting to really struggle. They've lost land to France. I think they've lost land to Turkey, and they might have even lost land to Russia. They're almost doing as bad as Finland, who is actually pretty much in the same spot, but they're probably not going to make it till the next scenario, just because they're way too small to really have the resources to hold out any longer. But yeah, finally, the Ottomans, the Turks are doing well in both Europe and Asia, and Russia is still just barely holding on. Moving on to the Middle East, as was stated, the Turks have most of the Middle East, most of the Caucasus, a good portion of the Balkans, and yeah, you can see why I said Ottoman Empire. They look a lot like the Ottoman Empire, except they control more of Arabia. But yeah, overall, Turkey is doing very well, and they're probably going to be one of our finalists, simply because I don't think there's anyone really to challenge them too much in the short term. Long term, I don't think they're going to do too well, but short term, I think they're going to do fine. Iran, on the other hand, is not doing nearly as well. They've taken a big bite out of Arabia, but they have lost a good bit to Turkey by this point, and they're really, really being pressured by India and China now. Arabia, let's be honest, Arabia is not lasting till 35. They barely have control of their capital, and they don't have control over either of their coasts. Yeah, overall, this is the end for Saudi Arabia. Moving on, India is massive, although they've actually started to shrink when fighting China a little bit. But overall, India has solidified their position, but since they don't really have anywhere else to go right now, they're just on the defensive against China. Simply because they now really just have that and Iran to worry about. Speaking of China, they are, they're still massive. They've taken, actually, what did they take in this? I don't remember now. Give me a minute. Okay, I think they took more out of Russia. And I don't think they took too much, like, overall. I think they took, like, just more of, like, Russia and Iran. But they have been doing a lot of fighting against India and Russia and even Japan to an extent. And, yeah, China is really trying to knock, especially India, off the map. But it is not working out as fast as they need it to. Indonesia hasn't really changed too much. China doesn't really have the... China and India don't really have the forces to fight while fighting each other, and Japan is just not in a position to. Neither is Australia. So Indonesia, they're just chilling. Australia is actually starting to struggle, though. They've lost everything except New Guinea and a few tiny islands in Indonesia. So pretty much they've been knocked back to only Oceania, so now they're pretty much just what they were at 10 years. And now they've lost probably about half their navy, and the U.S. is really starting to consider using Australia as a landing port for Asian invasion because they don't know where else to go. Right now, the U.S. is either considering Australia or the Philippines as their landing port, but the Philippines is a lot more risky because it's so close to China. So Australia is probably going to get invaded pretty soon. Moving on to our final continent, which is Africa, and it is no longer a complete free-for-all. There's actually only a few countries left. There is 5 countries. Egypt is, well, still gigantic. They've taken the entirety of North Africa, except for the bit that France took, but that's probably not going to last too long. They took even more from everyone. I don't need to list every single country because you can see them. But yeah, pretty much Egypt is undoubtedly the strongest on the continent. Strongest military anyways. And now they just need to finish off the second strongest on the continent, which is Nigeria. Nigeria is also massive, but despite the size similarities, Nigeria is definitely the weaker of the two powers. They had to start off, firstly, a much weaker military than Egypt, and Egypt took a lot more valuable land at the start, like Libya, Tunisia, and Algeria are very strong and very rich African countries. So is Morocco, but they don't control all of Morocco. And yeah, Egypt has overall just had a better start and took over better countries that gave them more in return. So overall, Nigeria is strong, but they're still stuck on the defensive against Egypt. So right now, Egypt is looking like the victor for Africa as long as Turkey doesn't start pushing against them, because right now Turkey is really the only power that could really break Egypt's plan if they wanted to, because France is busy with their own invasion and none of the African powers are strong enough. Even Turkey would have big troubles because right now the two of them are fighting for the Suez. But yeah, Turkey is really the only power with both the free troops and the strength to fight Egypt. But unless Turkey does that, which is unlikely in the short term, because Turkey's more worried about Iran, Egypt is probably going to consolidate at least North Africa. I also want to say, because I didn't say it in the last few ones, this is all exceptionally unrealistic. I know Egypt would never have this much power, neither would Nigeria, neither would half the countries on this map. But again, I'm going to when only one country remains. So, I can't have constant rebellions or else this series is never going to end. So, yeah, just know that. With that reminder out of the way, Ethiopia is, well, it's not too much to talk about here. They're in the same spot as before, which I said the last, 3 times, but it's true. They're just trying to hold out against Egypt, and they're doing pretty well. They're doing very well, actually. They're just holding out, and, yeah. Not much to talk about, but they're still doing all right. I almost said they're getting supplies from someone, but then I remembered there's no one to get supplies from because everybody's at war with each other. So, yeah, that idea's out the window. Anyways, Tanzania is, well, they're struggling. They look big, but they're really struggling. They're the weakest on the continent, undoubtedly. And they're just getting pushed around by everyone. Not so much Egypt, just because they have such a tiny border. But, Nigeria and South Africa especially are pushing them around. Also, say goodbye to Chill Madagascar. They are gone. Rest in peace. South Africa finally decided to take them over. mostly as a forward base towards either fighting Australia if they really need to, or just getting a better vantage point against Tanzania. And yeah, not much to talk about with South Africa either, but they have actually there is a bit to talk about. They've taken all the way up to Angola and Malawi almost, and yeah, and they've now pretty much taken all of South Africa. That was so dumb. Southern Africa. So yeah, that is the map. I'm sorry if this one and last one were a little bit lower quality for my voiceovers. This was because the first time my voice was dead, and the second time I am really rusty at this. So yeah, but I hope you enjoyed this. And I guess I'll see you in the next one, which hopefully does actually come out tomorrow, because it'd be nice to get back to the daily or 2-day schedules I had before. See ya!